Hello, everyone. Welcome to Winners of Grinners. My name is Darren Murphy. Joining me, as usual, Dave Tennis-Carroll. How are you, mate?
Good afternoon, Daz. It's been a couple of weeks, so it's great to be back on board. There's a lot to talk about today. A lot has happened in the domestic sport. So, let's enjoy the next
Barry
hour.
Coe.
Hey, how are we going?
Mate, I am well. It's been a bullshit round of football.
It's been really good, though.
It's been a bullshit round of football. That's
Cowboys
all I can say.
beat the Storm.
Yeah, we'll
That's
talk
all I
about.
can say.
Look, we'll talk about that one. So let's get through to our top five. First, at number 5, the AFL is the AFL season is in full swing, and it's just getting warmed up. But don't tell the fans that 2 rounds in and already we got a premiership contender, wooden spooners, and blokes calling coaches' heads. Every year we say don't overreact, and every year we absolutely do. It's a reality check.
I don't know if it's a reality check because at the end of the day, it's a big business, whatever sport it is, throughout, whether it's the world, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. Actually, it's funny. I was talking about Baz this a couple of hours ago. How poor the AFL has been this year. The scheduling has just been horrendous. We had the top 4 teams of this year didn't play on the weekend, which was Adelaide, Gold Coast, Hawthorn, and Suns. We had to put up with a North Melbourne Essendon game prime time on Saturday night. And talking about the wooden spooners, Essendon are going to get that easily. They might even not win a game.
What's going on? They're talking about the coach's head at the moment.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, they've extended him for another 2 years, but that means nothing. Look at what happened in the NRL.
But why does it mean nothing? Like, why would they extend him if they didn't have some sort of confidence that he was going to be able to right the ship?
I just didn't think.
We're going to get to Seabold in a minute.
Yeah, I understand that. But I just didn't think that Essendon would be that bad. But it's gone bad from not letting their captain, Zach Merritt, go. They were offered 4 draft picks and players. They've got an injury issue with the injuries again. But even just going off Essendon, like the crowds are down. Like the NRL is absolutely smacking the AFL at the moment with their crowds. And we don't get to round 5, Daz, before we have a full 8 games. And this opening round, it's to me, it's freaking. It's got to go, and it will go. This opening round won't happen next year.
Yeah.
But contenders, you're probably looking at the Gold Coast. You spoke about that.
Yeah, Gold Coast has been thrashing everyone. Bulldogs too.
Yeah, Bulldogs as well. And it's really good to see the Weagles, West Coast Eagles, have had put 2 wins in a row, and the first time they've done that for a number of years. And obviously they brought the youth in to help them. But it just feels as though to me that obviously you got a top 10 in the AFL, and we're up to what, round 4, round 5, maybe
Round 4 this week.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that the bottom 10
Technically
already,
round 5 with the opening round.
opening round. It feels as though it might already be done, the top 10. But anyway, time will tell. But it's funny how it happens in both codes that by round 5 or 6, not much changes, does it, Daz?
Yeah. It's I think there's a couple of things that are debatable, and we'll talk about this in our NRL segment. Let's get on with number 4. The A-League finals is tighter than a parking spot at Cairns Central on a Saturday. Sometimes I just write this and I just think, wow. Okay, mid-table is an absolute logism, and teams are tripping over itself. Trying to sneak into the finals. 1 win, you're alive. 1 loss, you're cooked. Yeah, it's really, really a tight race for the A-League at the moment, and it's good to see that a summer sport like soccer is actually getting some traction.
Oh, well, it's been really good because I think the A-League the last 5 years has had no traction in Australian sport. And obviously you used to have your Melbourne Victories. We're popular there for a while. But it's just great to see that Auckland FC, first year in, are up there as well. it's it's hard for them to get the traction, isn't it, Daz? And when you've got the NRL, AFL, you've got the cricket.
You've got the cricket, you've got the NBL in summer.
I know, exactly.
And they're your two dominant sports.
So and they probably need this close competition, which is obviously and because that's what we want to see in all competitions throughout Australia. But it's exciting. So who's do you know the favourites there? Or is it still Auckland FC?
I think it's Auckland,
or is it?
I'll look that up, but I'm pretty sure it's still Auckland off the top of my head.
What about Macarthur? Are they the ones that? I think it's actually Central Coast, isn't it? Mariners.
It is. Go away. It is Yolata. It currently is Newcastle.
Oh, Newcastle.
On top, Auckland, Victory, Adelaide United, Sydney FC and Macarthur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that probably hasn't changed a lot from a couple of weeks ago. So will be interesting, but it'll be. It's been a long time since the Newcastle Jets.
Given the way that Newcastle actually was, that's surprising.
Yes, exactly, mate. No, I think it's great. I mean, we'd love to see a Newcastle Jets and a Auckland FC final, but anyway, there's a lot to play. Their finals must be coming up very shortly.
Yeah,
mate.
It must be. Yeah, 22 games so far.
Yeah,
so Newcastle's won 14, lost 7.
Mm-hmm. Yep, very good. Cool.
Number 3, and it's probably something we're going to say, well, who cares? It really promises a lot, the Super Rugby Pacific, and it's, the Aussie teams are showing enough to keep you watching, but not enough to fully believe. One week they look sharp, and the next week you're scratching your head. It's boring.
It's shit.
Yeah.
It is terrible. New South Wales Waratahs come in every year and say we're going to win it. We're the best. We're cocky. We're arrogant. They just think they're the best in the business. We just can't beat the New Zealand teams, Baz. I think the only good team at the moment has been Queensland. Maybe Brumbies might be up there. I think in a way New South Wales started the season off really well with 2 wins. Now I think they've lost their last 3 or 4. New South Wales to me is the dominant state and always has been the dominant state for rugby union. I know Queensland's pretty good, but New South Wales has been the dominant state, and exactly that we can't compete against the Crusaders, the Highlanders, which is the Dunedin, Auckland Blues.
Yeah. So the Hurricanes are on top.
There you go.
Then the Blues, Brumbies, Reds, Chiefs, and Crusaders.
Yeah, so you got 4 out of 6. So the Chiefs are the Waikato Chiefs, Hurricanes are the Wellington Hurricanes, and then you got Auckland Blues and the Canterbury Crusaders, which is Christchurch. So,
at least the Reds are in the top 4.
Yeah, at least it's good for that, and you need that. We obviously need 2 teams at least into that top 6. I think it would. Well, maybe it might just be a top 4. Actually,
I think so.
I think it is a top 4.
Top 4.
So and Waratahs are languishing poorly. That's nothing unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, and this is where we're going to talk about a bit of chaos. Now, number 2, it's a surprise, and we've already got dramas, upsets, pressures on coaches, fans blowing up, and we're barely out of March. Yeah. Seabold.
He's
gone.
What's the deal? It's round 3. Is that too soon to they've
but this is all stemmed from last year.
They re-signed him for a year, didn't they?
Another 2 years. They extend for another extension of 2 years into last year. So
I know you're naught for 3, but
and he kept on saying
were they that terrible over those 3 games? So
I did watch them live, and they were bloody poor. I was going to nearly string myself.
But there's nuance,
I thought I was going to string myself when I left Brookvale Oval 2 weeks ago.
I don't know. It feels like it's already planned. It's just like, all right, let's wait for him to lose 3 games and he's gone.
I think Scott Penn, who's the majority owner, the Penn family, he lives in New York 90% of the time. He made a special trip to come back to Manly last week.
And that's strange in itself, isn't it?
Totally does. I always think it was premeditated that he probably thought if they lost to the Roosters Manly, which they did, within that night, I think it was the Friday night, they'd sacked him by Saturday afternoon, they'd already installed Kieran Foran. Quite, like those, and bang, bang, they already had it in place, didn't they, babe?
Yeah, they didn't have to think about it.
Didn't have to think about it.
Do you think it was symbolic, though, they're playing the Roosters, DC's new team, and, if we lose to this team,
yeah,
led by the guy that we let go.
I think that's probably part of it.
That's the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and the nail in the coffin for Seabolt is that he lost his kind of biggest supporter in Tony Mestroff, the CEO, who was told to piss off from the Penn family as such, and they got in Jason King, a former premiership player.
Yeah,
but I was told last night, I know that there was in these 12 years he's owned that football club, there's been 10 CEOs and 5 coaches sacked. Not good stability, is it?
No, it's bloody terrible.
It is. But it's been great though, the NRL. I mean, we talk about 2 weeks ago we wanted, Toddy Payton gone. He's won 2 games in a row now. Storm, you blokes are in trouble, Daz.
Oh, it didn't get me grilled this week. I was disappointed.
Yeah, no, that was good.
And,
but just back on the coach though. There's a financial cost of sacking a coach though. Like they've got to pay his contract out. Don't they?
Oh, yeah.
They can't just say, "I'll see you later."
No, he's got a 2-year. They'll have
Here's
to
your
pay
last
him out.
paycheck. So I mean, it sucks for him losing his job. But
Of course it does.
financially, he'll be okay. He'll be like, "Oh, well,
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
now getting paid."
They didn't want to be. You couldn't be Norton 4. You can't be Norton 5. So when do you call it? You just call it now. And
Yeah, if you go too long in the season, then you've given up all chance of turning it around.
as I said today, though, mate, I just don't think with Norton 3. We've had 3 home games and we've lost all 3 home games. We're going to pick up away games now.
Now, Seabolt's come from Rabbits to Broncos to Manly.
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever get an opportunity to coach again.
You think he's done?
I think he's done. He can't be
He
sacked
go to
twice.
Super League.
Oh, well, did he come from Super League originally?
I think so.
He did.
But we see these coaches, how many teams has Desi Haslam been at? They keep popping up.
Yeah, but I don't.
I mean, that's where all good coaches go to die. It's go to Super League.
Yeah, I don't think Seabolt. He
is he a bad coach or was it just a bad fit with the team and the management?
he's aligns himself with Moses, the manager, and he brings in the wrong type of players into his football club, and Brisbane realised that and got rid of him, and it's the same thing that's happened with Manly. So, look,
Surely
I'm
they
not
know
overly
this.
disappointed because
when they hire him as a coach, surely they know this. Surely there's talk within the NRL behind the scenes.
And I didn't really know. They won 12 games last year and lost 12, so it's not a terrible year. It's not like it's like 4-23.
It's just a cutthroat business.
It is. Well, it is cutthroat because we want
like
success.
radio, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
We should know.
It is cutthroat because and the Manly fans were booing him and asking him to be sacked. I mean, he was on the nose with the fans, so they made that decision, and they brought and now the golden child, Kieran Foran, is going to lead us to the promised land.
Now let's talk about that. So Kieran Foran, it's his first go at NRL coaching this year.
Yeah, he's 35 years of age. He finished last year. Very good footballer. Great
footballer.
Great IQ.
But plagued by injury towards the end, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. But he played for the Kiwis.
Great footy brain.
Footy brain. He's going to need a lot of support around him. And I don't know if he's got that. I actually don't even know who the other assistant coaches are that would be able to assist him. But I think what he's going to be coach. He's not going to try and change too much up. He'll just be a real relationship coach and just, not be a mate, but also at times put an arm around him, and it's.
But that makes a huge difference when the team wants to play for that.
Yeah, I look into that. Look, what I saw at Newcastle 2 weeks ago, Baz, they did not want to play for Seabolt. There was too many things that occurred. As I said, Ruben Garrick ran 40 metres down the ground and played the ball, and there was no one bloody there to pick the ball up. Like, come on, Look, I'm not expecting them to beat Dolphins tomorrow night, but they'll go very close. Not just because when they sack a coach, I just think they'll have a different mindset. And it's terrible that they do have that different mindset, isn't it? Because they shouldn't. Because that means they disrespected a former person who's a human being.
But it's key to any discipline, whether it's sport or work or whatever. You've got to have the mindset.
Yeah. Hey, while we're at it too, we need to wish Tui Kamakamika all the best as well. He had a suspected stroke on Monday.
Wow.
And unfortunately, he's laid up in hospital at the moment. Last time I heard, he's doing well. But, we want to send him all the best wishes as well.
Yeah,
so
that's very sad.
That's rough for a young man.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty young age too. So
Yeah.
to actually get that sort of stuff. So we really want to wish him all the best.
Yep.
Okay, number one, the real story, the Olympic build-up. So this one really isn't going to hit the headlines it actually deserves. The Australian Olympic and Commonwealth athletes are deep in training. No cameras, no crowds, just brutal training blocks and qualification pressures. This is where medals are actually won right now. While no one's watching, you'll see them later, but a lot of work's actually happening at the moment behind the scenes.
Remind me, Daz, we've got Olympics in 2032 in Brisbane.
But we've got LA next. So the games are on in LA.
Now, where's the Commonwealth Games?
Commonwealth Games will be in Scotland.
Glasgow.
In
Glasgow.
2028?
No,
2026
this year.
This year, is
I
it?
think it's
Wow,
like-
okay.
I think it's like May.
July.
Yes, it has to be in July. It's too bloody cold to be playing.
Yeah.
And then again in
the other-
2030?
Yes. It's every two. Well, it depends. The Commonwealth Games could be on the way out because Melbourne, decided not to hold the Commonwealth Games this year. But it's every 2 years. So every 2 years, it's the Commonwealth Games, and then the second year, it's the Olympics. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Olympics is going to be great for Australia again, and it will be.
They can get this bloody stadium organised.
Well, I thought it had been organised. I thought Victoria Park, where it's going to be.
Yeah, and then you got your protesters there, and your protesters are saying, save Victoria Park.
Just
It's
bulldoze them
come
over.
on.
No, I actually thought it had already been agreed on. That's,
I think the government, the Queensland government said, this is what we're going to do, and the protesters are there, and they're all trying to get, this is heritage listed land, and this is Aboriginal listed land, and it's
and I get it also that cricket doesn't want to leave the Gabba, but it has to.
Oh yeah,
it needs to, and they probably had their protests when the WA cricket left the Wacker.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. Like Optus Stadium now, it is just A1.
Oh, it's immaculate. I love that place.
Great stadium, and what it'll do, it'll just make Brisbane grow up to a sporting capital of the world. I really do, and I think already that Brisbane's a bit of a sporting capital of the world.
Absolutely,
and we need an Olympic precinct.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
and it's in close to town. It's not far from the valley. It's not far from Milton. As well, and it's like you got railway and bus. It's already, the whole infrastructure is set up already for it to be organised as a really well organised game. So, but geez, we probably got announced 2 or 3 years ago, and we're only 6 years away from it. It's getting away time. They
haven't actually bulldozed anything
No,
yet.
they haven't put the old shovel in the.
Get Tinners down there on the tools. We'll get it done.
We'll get it going.
I reckon. All right. Hey, look, I want to get into AFL first, but the only reason being is that we're going to have a special. Well, we could call him a special guest, I guess. Treno.
He's special, all right.
He's not on the phone. All right. So, I want to get to AFL first because we need to actually get Trent on the phone for his
NRL comments.
Yeah. So we'll go Geelong and Adelaide. They played this at GMHBA Stadium. It was 68-60.
Disappointing effort from Adelaide.
Looks like a boring.
Yeah, it was. And I know it's at GMBHA Stadium, and it's down at the old Cattery the new Cattery, and they're a difficult team to to beat. But if Adelaide want to be a top 4 or a top 2 team, and I don't overly rate Geelong for the year, they need to be winning. And I understand they had a few, but they all teams have players out, so there's no excuse really. Anyway, but look, Cats won. It's great, but I don't.
Lackluster affair, that one.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but the Pies, 87-54 over the Giants.
Yeah, no, that was a very good win. They lost Darcy Moore. Well, Darcy Moore redid his hamstring, but he played out the game. Scott Pendlebury, who's 4 games away from the record, they thought he hurt his Achilles, but the scans cleared it. The Pies, the Giants have got a number of injuries, and they brought a number of injuries into the season. But they are 1-3, the Giants, which is really going to hurt them. But the Pies have got one of the best defensive records in the competition. And I know we're talking about AFL, but there's another team in the NRL who's got the best defence I've ever seen, and that's the Penrith Panthers. And we all know, Daz, defences win premierships. And at the moment, Collingwood's defence is really good. So big game tomorrow night, actually, against the Lions.
Yeah, speaking of which, the Lions 113, St Kilda 80.
This game was even with about 10 minutes to go. Lions put the foot on the metal on the pedal and took off. And Saints have had another loss. They've spent over $2 million on new players for the year, and again, I think they're 1-3 as well. So, but the Lions had to win, and I'm glad they did, because they would have been 0-3, I think.
Yeah, and they're both sitting 13-14 on the ladder there.
They started slow last year.
All right, Fremantle 103 defeated Richmond 43.
Yeah, they're a good side.
Richmond in trouble this year.
They are in trouble. They've got some more injuries to their young players as well. They've got a long haul to get back up to a top 8, top 10 spot. Fremantle, to me, are a top 2 team. I rate them highly, and I think they're going to be so close to the grand final this year. Yeah.
North Melbourne 81 defeated Essendon 69.
Look, it's great to see North doing well again.
Yes, it is.
Essendon, I don't know what to say.
The coach's head's on a chopping block.
Yeah, I just don't see how he can hold his spot. I mean, there's just lack of confidence in this. Not even the team. There's a lack of confidence in this football club.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It is such a shame, and it's hurting the AFL when you got Essendon and also Carlton, one of the big teams who are down the bottom. But it's great to see North Melbourne are doing the right things, and their last 5 years has been hard,
been woeful.
But good on them.
Yeah.
Yep.
West Coast Eagles had a win against Port Adelaide 92-90.
By narrow margins.
Yeah. 2 points.
This is a cracking game of football.
It would have been good, yeah.
No one expected West Coast to beat Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval. No one gave them a chance. It's been 5 years since they've won at Adelaide Oval. And
wow.
Yeah, okay. 5 years. One, they've got some really good young kids in Dersma. Job Shanahan, his father was Jamie Shanahan, who used to play at St Kilda, took an outstanding pack market with about 30 seconds to go with about 10 blokes around him. Harley Reid, instead of trying to bash everyone up, he's just bashing the football and getting, and he's playing really good football. So it's look, we need a strong West football teams.
Yes.
They've had some bad years.
And Fremantle and West Coast, but they've still got a lot to go. But it's great that they've now won 2 games in a row. So
promising signs there for Eagles fans.
Melbourne 100 defeated Carlton 77.
Do you know the start of this game? Did you even hear what happened?
What happened?
It was 43-1. Guess who was 43?
Carlton.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was 43-1.
So, yeah, from what I've heard, they've actually completely blown halftime leads.
You're on the track there, Dad. Totally.
Yeah.
So they're 85% for the last 18 months of winning the first half. They go to 19% winning a second half.
Yeah.
I don't see how Vossi can stay, but they probably don't want to pay him out. But so that means the score went from like 99 to 3
Yeah.
It's crazy.
after quarter time.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Every social media was blowing up. Mates who are in group chats who are Carlton supporters, you know, I think we haven't seen any of them. I think they're still, you know, somewhere on the road. You know, there might be a bit of roadkill on the
Still
road. You
drowning
know,
their sorrows.
but yeah. So, that's just sums up the Carlton Football Club, and it's just shame when you got Carlton and Essendon, the two big Melbourne teams, languishing at the bottom. What
16
are they?
and 17.
There you go.
Yeah.
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 So,
And that
anyway.
brings us up to the ladders, the Suns, Bulldogs, Hawks, and the Swans all had a bye this weekend.
Yep.
So Suns are on top and followed by Dogs, Fremantle, Swans, Hawthorn, North Melbourne round out the 6, and then Collingwood, Melbourne, West Coast Eagles, and Geelong Cats. Now, just on the West Coast Eagles. Now, I said this a few weeks ago. They were at $19.
Exactly. So now
They're actually at 9th place.
No, so what we're giving to the bookies, we're giving you 500 to 1 probably that they would be in the top 8 or 9 or 10, whatever it is, at round 4.
Yep.
I would love the odds you would, you know, like no one, like there's 2 teams in there, Baz, North Melbourne and West Coast, haven't been anywhere near the top 8 for 5 years. And then you got teams like, you got Essendon, Carlton, Lions, Giants.
All down the bottom.
At the bottom.
Is there danger that there's going to be no Melbourne team in the grand final this year?
There won't be.
Well, they've always had that problem.
There won't be. It'll be Fremantle Gold Coast grand final.
Yeah.
Or Swannies.
Swannies.
Yeah.
I don't think there won't be a Melbourne team. No. I don't. There won't even be one, let alone 2. There will not be. It'll be an all interstate grand final.
Yep. And the news to coming in that Kylie Minogue will be headlining the grand final.
Daz, I need to ask you a question. How come she never ages, that woman?
Plastic surgery.
Oh, so that's what someone else told me during the week too. So they maybe I need to get onto it.
She's still incredible. Isn't she?
She's great.
Oh, she's great looking.
Yeah, yes, she does. It'll be, you know, I think they made an error. I did speak this to Bads. I thought the time was this year to go to the 5:30 slot. What do you think for the grand final? Or you're a traditionalist, aren't you?
I'm way too much of a traditionalist. I think the 2:30, the 2:30 time slot actually suits a lot of people. It's good for Melbourne as well.
It means you can get on the sauce early in the afternoon, get to bed at 7 o'clock.
You know, I used to like the fact that we used to have the AFL on the Saturday and then the NRL on the Sunday.
Yeah. I like
and that was
that.
great because, you know, you could get on the sauce on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Although it made it difficult if you wanted to go to both games. You know,
It did.
You want to travel from Melbourne to Sydney.
However, though, it was.
You could drive up.
Yeah, it's the greatest weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the greatest, you know. Like, I'm leaving 6 o'clock Friday. I'll see you 8 o'clock Monday morning. Really,
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that as well. I mean, you could get on the sauce on the Saturday there, and you could stay drunk on the Sunday there, and Monday's a public holiday, so you're fine.
Exactly. It's just a great. I think we might have to talk to Andrew Dillon, head of AFL, and Peter Volandis of NRL, and say, look, the public, the people want it.
Pull your head in.
Yep.
Come on, Pete.
Yeah, come on, Pete. He's doing such a terrible job.
Yeah, he's not going to do it for AFL anyway.
All
right, we're going to take a quick break on Winners or Grinners, and we will be back soon.
Okay.
All right, welcome back to Winners are Grinners, and joining us on the line is Trent Cooper. How are you, mate? How's the Atherton
good fellas, how are you?
How's the Atherton Tablelands?
Good.
Oh, mate, nice and chilly actually tonight.
Got the fire going?
Got the jumper on?
Probably about 22 degrees.
You sound like you got a bit of pep in your voice. Did your team have a win this week?
Well, that's part of it. There's other things that might have given me a bit of a pep too, but we
keep it clean.
About that on the radio.
Yeah.
Lucky it's a podcast.
No, it's funny. Hey, like when it gets to a Monday and your team's won, and you're walking about 2 inches taller. You really are. So No,
That's
it was
why
a very,
Darren's
very
stooping this week.
interesting
Yeah,
round of
there's no
football,
grilled
wasn't it?
burger for me this week.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Look, I thought that was going to be lay down Mazaire for the Storm. I think
Well,
only
you
Barry,
picked
who's
the
just
Cowboys,
a
though.
one-eyed Cowboys supporter,
I'm the
more
only one
than
who picked
me,
them.
picked them in the tips.
Yeah.
I just couldn't see it coming. But
No one could see it coming.
no,
I saw it coming.
I mean, I was saying, I was saying before the game that look, I
Please.
thought we could get close. Like I was worried that it was going to be a blowout, but with the defensive lapses in that team, we could and if we played the perfect game, well, we could get close. Well, yeah, I was not expecting the Cowboys to turn up the way they did, but the defensive resolve in the Cowboys as well. I thought that
All right.
was great.
Let's come back to that though.
Other than a couple that can't tackle, but that's all right. We can the other 12 can in the front line can make up for it. So
All right, let's talk about the games that are on during the week. So the Roosters defeated Manly 33-16.
I actually tipped Manly like a.
Well, this was a really
an
good
idiot.
game. It was 10-8, I'm pretty sure, at half time. And Manly were in the game. And this is probably the first time of the year that they've actually stood up against a really good team. But it just went to shite after half time.
As we talked about, the coach has been sacked.
Yeah.
Is there a chance the team just gave up
I think he
partway through this game?
Well, not even that. I just don't think. Look, there's been talk, gents, that Jake Tavojevic went to Anthony Seibold and said, "We don't like the game plan. This game, what we're doing,
Really?
we're trying to go wide because of our speed. We just need to go straight through the middle." And look, it hasn't surprised me. I just thought the whole Daly Terry Evans issue of last year, it's just rolled into an absolute nightmare for this football club now.
I had to laugh when they kept booing him.
Well, when your fans are booing, what are you going to do? What do you just?
But it was just constant all game.
well, that was DCE they were booing, but with Seibold at the end, the
Yeah.
chant went up.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
And and you knew then that they were going to step in.
That was a catalyst.
Even afterwards, I watched the interview, the coach's interview, and you could tell he was almost trying to defend his position straight off the bat. He was saying things like, "I've given a lot of time of my own time to this club, and all these things, and I'm only 3 games into a 2-year
Extension.
contract and all this sort of thing." Like he was trying to justify it, but you just knew he was dead man walking.
Yeah, you knew the writing was
Yeah,
on the
the
wall.
management didn't come out and support him at all.
Yep.
Even at the end of the game, he was on the sideline. Not one player came over to anywhere near. Like it was just, it was actually, it was a very sad ending for Anthony Seibold. But
Now, Tinners, the appointment of Kieran Foran.
well, I love the Foz.
Yep.
But at 35 years of age, Treno, he's never ever coached before, but his IQ is very, very high. I think he'll just coach for relationships, and I think he'll try and he'll win back the dressing shed, which he will be able to do.
Yeah.
He hasn't changed much for the team tomorrow night, if anything, he actually hasn't changed it at all. And you're probably not going to come in and blow up the team.
And that was surprising for me that they actually picked Kieran Foran as an interim coach.
Well, they had Kamali and Dimmick there as well as options. But I think, look, Foz is Manly through and through, and I think that's what they were chasing.
Well, Scott Penn adores the shite out of him. Scott Penn loves him.
Yep.
So
and look, I think he'll be more of a figurehead. Like he'll coach, but as an interim coach, you just want someone there that's, knows the Manly way.
Yeah.
Kamali and Dimmick will just keep on doing what they're doing, and they'll be able to help him as well through it. But then you've got the who do they pick next year is the big question as well. And I look at it and think, Matt Ballon would probably be very good for that club because it seems like that's what they're chasing. They're chasing the Manly DNA. Every premiership that's ever been won by Manly has been a Manly person in charge.
Yeah, and you're right. But then there's a big push for Michael Ennis because the players loved him when he was there.
Oh,
They
did you
like-
notice he
yeah,
was wearing
yeah.
a Manly tie?
Oh, no, that was a
Wow.
bit of AI, wasn't it?
No. He was
No, I was
wearing a
watching
Manly
it
tie.
at the time.
I thought it was a
And when
Queensland
they-
tie.
when that's-
Oh, it was
I
a,
actually
it was a
sent it to the
Queensland tie,
boys.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't-
Oh. Well, I was looking at it originally thinking it's really weird to see him in that colour. Like,
Yeah.
and this was before they were talking about it.
Yeah.
And then they were talking about it. And then I realised Kieran Foran was was there as well. And
Which he did-
apparently
he knew
Kieran
nothing.
didn't know.
No,
He didn't know.
He didn't know, and until afterwards. But I got a sneaky feeling that Ennis might have already been, they might have already had a little word to him before this.
Oh, as I said, though, Scott Penn came all the way over from New York. So if he just thought, if they're going to lose Thursday night, we're going to sack him Friday. By Saturday afternoon, Kieran Foran, you and I spoke Saturday morning, Kieran Foran was appointed 2:00 Saturday afternoon. It was already in place, mate. It was already in place as far because it just went bang. It just went so smoothly. It just went bang, Seabold out, bang, Kieran Foran coach. They took no time.
So obviously Ennis would have media commitments for the rest of this year.
He would, yeah, that's right,
Well,
which he's able to do.
He's also
Oh,
the
Kieran
assistant
Foran would have
coach
had
at the
media-
Dragons.
Yeah, well, Kieran Foran would have had media commitments as well.
Yeah, they all do. They all do, but they seem to be able to do this in there.
But will he-
look
will
at
he- yeah.
Adam Reynolds being there like every second week at the moment as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Look,
that
I think
doesn't
it's a
seem to
good thing.
matter.
Can we look at the Roosters for a second though?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, they're sitting 12th on the ladder at the moment. How do we think they're going to go with DCE there?
No, I'm not rating them. I'm not
Okay.
because I'm concerned about Walker and DCE playing well together.
I think
What-
that'll get better as the year goes
think
on,
so?
and it'll be more that DCE has to let go.
I
let
agree.
Walker play a bit more. You know,
It's the-
instead
the
of really trying to get
combination-
him away a little bit.
But the combination
Victor Radley's
isn't
got
there.
to come back into this team as well. So, he'll add that little bit of starch. And I think Robson's only this is his second. That was his second game
it
for
was,
the Roosters
yeah.
as well. So, I think that they're still a smoky. I think they'll push for the 8. I really do.
Don't think they'll
So-
win the comp.
No. Yeah, well, I don't think anyone's beaten Penrith at the way
Yeah,
they're
we
going.
spoke
So,
about that 20 minutes ago. Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you reckon?
I
Baz?
think, they'll make the 8.
Oh, they might scrape in. I think they'll be sitting around that 9-10 mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got some life in them. They got a good roster there. So, but yeah, like Daz said, they've got to get the combinations going.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. The West Tigers 32 defeated the Warriors
This
14.
was surprising.
Wow.
Wow.
The F. Seriously.
Yep.
Tigers have got more to them than we thought, I think.
Yeah, but they
They
don't.
do. They've got a bit of ticker.
Yeah, but they don't beat the Warriors in New Zealand the way the Warriors.
Well, they shouldn't. Yeah.
They shouldn't. There's no way. You cannot. Even right now, you can tell me all of you if I'm, come back at me. The Tigers are not a better side than Warriors.
So did Warriors have a bad day or Tigers had a really good one?
I think a bit of both.
Oh, Tigers had a great night.
Yep.
I think with the Warriors, that's going to happen with that club and that football team that they'll have a off day every so often. It's not going to happen very often this year, though.
Well, the big change for that team was that Luke Metcalf had come back in after a long time out. He didn't play any real reserve grade.
So
anything
why
like
would
that
they do that,
leading into
Treno?
it. Well, because he was running. He was
Okay, I know, but he's
Daily
still an
M
ACL.
player of the year when he got injured. Like he was leading the Daily M. So I think they didn't put him in at 7 because Tana Boyd was doing so well, but they put him in at 6.
Yeah.
And he was a little bit rocks and diamonds. He had his moments, but he did look like he was missing.
But he's not a
Gallo.
6 though, mate. So they need Andrew Webster needs to make a decision. It either has to be Boyd or Metcalf, and only one of them can play.
Yeah, it'll be hard because I think Metcalf could play 5'8" as well because he's a running player. He really is, and I think Tana's it's too hard to take it away from him at the moment. But in saying this, look, Warriors came out of the blocks. They looked like they were going to put Tigers to the sword. They really did. They were first 20 minutes was amazing, and you're just like, okay, this is just going to be a Warriors win. And so I think I turned it off, and I came back on, and I said, oh, it's a bit closer. Then I watched it in the second half, and Tigers just run amok. They just absolutely run amok. And I thought, what the heck has happened here? You know, that's the totally different team to what I was seeing 20 minutes ago. So I don't know whether they got complacent and they got caught with like that, but they can't do that in this competition. You
Yeah, but
can't.
they
You've got
don't-
to play for 80 minutes.
But
You
Baz,
know,
they
you
don't
can't-
beat them with no Luai.
Yeah.
Luai did not play.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone. We all picked the Warriors,
Yeah.
but there was no way known. Like I think the stats were that it's the first game in 10 years that West Tigers have won over there, but it's the first time in 21 years that they were leading at half time over there.
That's crazy.
That's
isn't
how
it?
they
That's
just do not
crazy.
win over there.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
but
so-
anyway, we're good on the Tigers, and yeah, they are a smoky to make top 8.
Let's
They will.
let's move on though. Battle of Brisbane. This was a great game.
26-12 Brisbane over the
Broncos
Dolphins.
too good, obviously.
Yep. We were split on this one.
We were.
I think there was 3 of us that were on the Dragons, and then there were 3 of us on the Dolphins. I thought, and I'd say that was because Payne Haas wasn't playing.
Yeah.
I think that's where that came from. But they've got, they seem to have recaptured something there, the Broncos.
But it's hard for the Dolphins to actually win against the big brother at the moment.
But what is
Well,
it? Is this
have they won one?
No.
I'm not sure. If
No,
they've
they never
beaten
have.
them.
No.
Yeah.
is this their 4th year in the comp now? The Dolphins.
Yeah, well, that was the 7th Battle of Brisbane. So,
Yeah.
And if
It's
they,
really good signs though to see a 4-year-old team doing this well.
yeah, but if they want to be making the top 8, they have to be beating the Broncos after they've had the worst actually 2 months, Broncos. Payne Haas decides to say, I'm out of here. Then there was an issue about the camp of Maguire, that some of the senior players had another whinge and a sook like they did last year. And then they sacked Ben Teo. Like their first 2 months has been terrible.
well, isn't it funny though that when Ben Teo got sacked, ever since he's been sacked, or ever since the argument about the defensive strategy, they've actually been more defensively resilient.
Yeah.
So maybe Maguire has a bit more to him than what we think.
So what's the story there
I
with
know.
Ben Teo?
What was that? Sorry.
What's the story there with Ben Teo?
Well, he went up against him. It was about defensive tactics, and Michael Maguire wanted to go a certain way with it. Ben Teo was the defensive coach, and he had his own philosophy. And apparently, they had a pretty heated argument about it. It went out. Then Broncos went and did the way that Madge wanted, and won. And he's probably gone to him afterwards and said, "See, told you." And then that was enough for Teo. He's just gone nuts.
And it didn't just
I'm out.
stem from this year either. It stemmed the last
No.
2 or 3 months of the end of last year as well. So,
Yeah.
you've got to trust Madge. He's a 2-time premiership winner.
Well, he is. And look, Madge lives football 24/7 of the day.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he only sleeps 2 hours of a night time. And he is on like Donkey Kong about football
Yeah.
every day, every 365 days a year. He is
Yeah.
just constantly thinking about it. He is that intense. He has calmed down a bit from his days over in the Roosters and the Tigers. But if you want the results and you want to win premierships, he knows how to do it. You've just got to be able to come along with him.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it just wears on you after a while, I think.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Let's move on to the next game though.
Knights.
Another surprising one.
Yeah, Knights defeated the Bulldogs 24-16. I told you it was a bullshit round of football.
This is what I love about the NRL though. You just can't pick these games
No.
sometimes.
I think I got 3.
Yeah, I got
Galvin's an issue.
because you didn't believe in the
Th-
Cowboys.
These halves are an issue.
Yeah.
And I said this. I said on the podcast a month ago.
Ever since they brought him in last year.
Yeah, but
Oh,
Galvin's not the man, and neither is Burton. These two are not going to win him a premiership. I don't even know whether they'll get him to top 4.
Why did the powers that be not see this though?
Oh, I think they do, but they've invested a lot in these players.
They've dug a hole for
Well,
themselves.
they've dug a hole
Well,
for
with the
themselves.
Galvin situation they have.
He's not a
I mean,
bad player. Like
No.
they'll have a
No,
spot
he's
for
a
him in
good
the
player.
team, but
But they've put.
But he's
they've-
not a halfback.
It's just that I think
he'd
with
probably be a good 5'8" if he got a chance at
but
5'8".
they've dug the hole with
not a halfback.
Burton. Burton is their issue with the amount of money they're paying him.
Yep.
They're absolute rabble. They've got it so wrong. They've got everything else right with their forward pack, their wingers, their backs. Their centre. They've got their halves wrong.
Is Stephen Crichton a halves player?
No, Crichton's a centre.
No, I don't think he can come to
No, but does he have
5'8".
potential for
But
that?
you've got you've got O'Sullivan there.
Yeah, but why? Jamie Lyon went from the centres to 5'8" and won a premiership. You're saying that the Critter could not go to 5'8"?
I think he could have the potential for it.
He could. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. I seriously don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, right. Galvin's a 5'8". So is Burton.
Do you think? Hang on. Do you really think he's a 5'8"?
That's the problem at the moment. You don't have someone steering the team.
I don't think he's a 5'8".
Sullivan on the bench, who he's the halfback. He's got to be in there, and now they have to make a choice between Galvin and Burton, which they'll choose Galvin, and then Burton's going to have to move into the centres, or maybe he moves to fullback. I think he's too slow for fullback these days. He did play fullback a few years ago, but I think he's too big for fullback now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And look, also, Hayward. He just, I'm not sure if he's a hooker. To be honest with you, he was so good coming off the bench last year, or even playing lock, or he played in the halves. He's a guy that they're trying to manufacture him into a hook. I have this stand-up argument with our friend that loves the Bulldogs about this. And he reckons we've just got to give him time. But
they've got massive issues.
How much time are you going to have?
No, they've got massive issues with this, not this football club, just the football team. But however, though, I love Justin Holbrook. I had a chat to some random people on the tram back from Brookvale to Manly Beach 2 weeks ago. Justin Holbrook's a very, very good young coach. What he's doing at Newcastle Knights is an outstanding effort.
Oh, yeah.
Really. They've got no Ponga. So here we go. They had no Ponga and no Dylan Brown. And they've, beaten the Dogs by 20 points?
Yeah.
And do you think that it was complacency on the Dogs too? That they thought they could just rock up and go through the motions?
No, I don't, mate. I just think that this football team's not right.
Do you guys realise Knights are in the top 4 now?
Yeah, good. And that's when
they've been in the top 4 all season.
And they deserve it.
And they deserve it. And I think Justin Holbrook is an outstanding coach. Right now, he's the coach of the year. I know it's only round 4, but and they've got the momentum now. I really do believe that the Knights will make the 8.
Yeah.
I can't believe the Titans let go of him. And look, no, good on it because
guys, we got to move on because otherwise we'll keep talking.
Yeah,
but there's worrying signs at Penrith. They let the Eels put 20 on them.
Yeah, Penrith
what's
48. He defeated Parramatta 20.
Maybe because they put the queue away later.
Yeah, I think so.
As Cooper Cron says, the grand finals played now. No one gets near Penrith. They're as good as what they were in their heyday 3 years ago.
I'd almost say they're better. I'd hate to say it, but I reckon they're better. I think they're hungrier. How do you be hungry after you've won 4 premierships?
Yeah, because they were terrible last year.
Hungry.
Blaze Tagalongi is playing really good football.
Oh, yep.
Yeah,
but even Edwards is back.
Yeah,
they've had. They don't even have their starting hooker at the moment.
Yeah, but let's
look at that and
let's put this in perspective though. Round 1 they played a lackluster Broncos, then they played Sharks who've been terrible, then they played Roosters who are no good, and then they played Eels. So
I get that.
This week they've got the Storm.
I get that, but
they've got the Bulldogs, Dolphins, Knights coming up. It'll be interesting to see how they go.
Can you see them pulling the Storm apart though?
Look at the points against.
I'm not saying they're not good, but they've had an easy run so far.
Oh, Baz! Wow.
So Baz has written Panthers off.
They were the premiers. The Broncos were the premiers.
Yeah, but Broncos had a shocking round 1. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
They did. And look, you actually make a valid point. I hadn't really thought of it that way.
Yeah.
It will be interesting. It'll be the game of the round. It's the game of the year.
No, I disagree. Broncos were premiers, and the Roosters were, by a lot of tipsters, they were going to win the comp.
But look, Storm are coming off a loss to the Cowboys, and they're playing Panthers this week. So is Storm going to lose 2 in a row?
All right, let's talk about that one now. Okay, so Cowboys 28 defeated the Storm 24.
Lost 2 in a row.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
we've already lost 2 in a row.
That's 2 in a row for the Storm.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to
They
lose
lost
3
to
in
the
a row.
Broncos the week before.
And that's a worry for Craig.
It
Bellamy.
is. It is. And look, they're getting beaten in the edges as well. It's defensive errors that are killing them, really.
Yeah.
I mean, but don't take away from the Cowboys as well. I thought that Todd Payton was he was the next one. Like, with Seabold going, I thought
Dead man
after
walking.
this round, he was gone too. Your team doesn't play like that unless they believe in the coach.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Like, there was, I think I'm wrong because they don't. Your team does not turn. Now, and Manly prove it. They weren't turning up to Seabold, and it was disappointing they weren't turning up for each other. Well, that club there, they were desperate to show that it wasn't.
Well, it's about bloody time. You have the Cowboys got the top 4 for the list for players. They've got great players.
Yep.
Well, I also think that finally they've put a bit of trust in Clifford, and Jake's showing them. He's not repaying the faith. He's just playing the way he's playing, knowing that the axe isn't hanging over his head.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
And now we're going to see what he's. I've copped a lot of crap on social media over the last probably 3 years about Clifford, right? Because I can see it. And a lot of people just, they just wanted I don't know, like, Jackson Padot to go into 5'8" or someone better or this, that, and the other. And I kept looking, going, well, he's not doing anything wrong.
He's just super underrated, isn't he? Like, he does the hard work, but doesn't get the attention for it.
Yeah.
And he's when they reckon when you meet him in real life, you realise how big the kid is.
Yeah.
Like, he is huge.
Yeah.
Kind of thing for a 5'8". He's a big boy, and so he can hold his own in the defensive line. But he was out jumping fullbacks, and
How good were those spiral bombs?
And the bombs, mate. Oh, it's fantastic. Look, I don't know why he's having the goal kick at the moment. I think maybe Drenky with the rib injury, it's probably a little bit more than what he can do. But other than the goal kicking, he's having the perfect game. Like, he's doing everything the coach wants it, offensively, defensively. And it's just so good to see.
The writing's
I'd like
on
to
the
see
wall.
Dearden play a little bit, like, I don't know. Dearden seems to have taken a backward step. Not a backwards, and letting letting everyone else play. And I think Drinkwater's, I've said this often, he's the best touch football player in the competition because just don't expect him to tackle. There was, did you see that clip I sent you today, Baz?
Which one?
About the guy, he went through all of Drinkwater's defensive plays, and look, he tackles like a wet bag. But you cannot fault him in offense when he's on. He is one of the best fullbacks in the comp.
Yeah. All right, we got to move on from that game.
Sharks 34 and the Raiders 22.
Disappointing from the Raiders. I think.
They're in trouble. The Raiders are. I don't know what's happened. Well, I do know what's happened since last year. So Jamal Fogarty.
They let Fogarty go.
And exactly. It's all about Fogarty, not and this is a really disappointment for the Raiders. They thought, I'm sure they would have thought that they would be a top 4 team again in 2026. I think they're 1-3, and they've only beaten Manly, who are 0-3, and they beat Manly by 1 point. So if you go back,
I think at the time when because it was the first round, you thought, okay, well, these are 2 quality sides,
exactly.
And look, it's worked, and I think it papered over the fact that Ethan Sanders had only played 7 games of football, of NRL, before that. And it's going to take a while for him to get his confidence up.
Yeah, and that's what I thought too. So these are 2 bottom 4 teams, and that's what the Raiders. And I think it's disappointing because you need a strong Canberra Raiders team playing good football in the NRL.
Well, I think he's kind of put himself in a bit of a corner, Ricky Stewart, now with this, because when you think about it, if he goes and moves to Dane Laurie, which Dane Laurie had a good pre-season. Like, he looked pretty good in the halves. Yeah. If he goes to Dane now and drops Sanders, that's going to put Sanders back a good couple of years.
Yeah. So
you kind of now have to go with Sanders and hope that the penny drops. But it's not all Sanders. There's the back rowers for the Raiders are playing very well. But there's players there that you just sit there thinking, like I don't know, from a Cowboys fan's point of view, I'm looking forward to us playing them.
Yeah,
At the moment, the way they're playing,
and I'm
I reckon we'll beat them.
And I'm wondering
So-
where the Cronulla Sharks are at, because they got flogged by Penrith, and I think they lost their game the week before as well. And they,
Well,
so
I think the Sharks, because I thought, I looked at more on the weakness of the Raiders. I just think everyone's been holding them up too high.
yeah,
looking
no,
like
and
what
that's
happened last year.
and exactly, and that's what's happened. But the Sharks are still. I don't trust them again. So that to me, they're not a
Not
top
against
4.
one of the bigger teams, but I
No.
think that they should be able to knock over
Yeah,
the bottom teams.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
your top 4 teams, and look, maybe even Newcastle, they're probably not going to go against those guys at the moment.
All right, last game of the round.
Last game. The Titans 22 defeated the Dragons 14.
How good for the Titans.
the worst game ever I did watch, but I was rooting for the Titans to win, and they did. But it was a lot of drop ball. Very boring football where they just take it up the field, kick the ball long.
Battle of the wooden spoon already.
It was already. These two are also landing in the bottom 4. But I was very happy for Josh Hannay. Jaden Sullivan had a great game. The young fella that you mentioned, and I totally 100% agree with you, Treno.
Arana Ho.
Whoa, how good's he?
Yeah.
He's
Got
impressive.
a double.
So interesting for him. Like, he's been in the team since 2024. He's only had 7 games.
I know.
And what was holding his back was a bit of immaturity
Right.
and not taking his game seriously. And that turned around in January. He was not in like cooey of this team in December. I think Josh had already kind of maybe pigeonholed him for a season in Q Cup.
He's a local boy,
he
isn't he?
turned around, and it just shows that if you pay 100% to your football, anything can happen. And look, he looked like a Gordon Tallis or a Nathan Highmarsh when Nathan Highmarsh was young or something. Like he just didn't look like
that. Was impressive. I was really happy for Josh Hannay. So they've got their first win of the season. So
there's a little stat with that too. So when Josh Hannay was the interim coach with the Cowboys, right, all those years ago, they lost a lot of games in a row. The game that he finally got a win was with the Dragons. They finally got the win.
Right.
Same with the Sharks. When he was with the Sharks, he became interim coach of the Sharks. Lost a few games. The first win was with the Dragons. So it's just, isn't it funny that now he's lost a few games and it's the Dragons again? I think he just wishes he could play the Dragons every week.
Yeah.
Because and look, it may be the only game they win of the season, but who knows? This might springboard them. They go and see we can compete.
Yeah.
All right, so that's your NRL scoreboard. Thanks to DC Finance. I heard you had a good consolidation loan rate there, 5.6%.
No, 5.44 actually.
5.44.
Hey, really?
Very good.
Impressive. Yeah.
Maybe give me a call after.
Yeah, I will. No worries.
All right, so your Optimus 1 ladder is the Panthers on top with 4 wins and 8 points. The Warriors, Tigers, Knights, Rabbits, and the Bulldogs on 6. Storm, Dolphins, Sharks, Broncos, Cowboys, Roosters, and Eels on 4. Seagulls, Raiders, and Titans on 2, and the Dragons haven't had a win.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
You wouldn't want to be a Dragon supporter.
Oh, wouldn't you want? All right. Just quickly, the QRL results there. The Tigers defeated the Devils 22-12. The Bears 26 defeated the Pride 18. The Falcons 20 defeated the Clydesdales 18. The Dolphins 33 defeated the Hunters 4. And the Jets defeated the Magpies 32-30. And the Blackhawks defeated Tweed Seagulls 34-6. And Winner Manly and Cutters did a 26-all draw. Wow,
Okay.
Would have been a good game. Decent game of football.
Yeah, 52 points in a game is never nothing to cough at. That's pretty good.
Yeah, all right. Live and local FNQ and the round 2. We're actually in rugby league territory, boys. And Atherton defeated Yarrabah 36 to 24. Cairns Brothers 18 defeated Innispell 10. Kangaroos 42 defeated Ivanhoe's 12. Tully, big win there, 32 against Mossman 28. And Mareeba 30 defeated Suburbs 16. So that puts the latter brothers at 4 points. Mareeba and Atherton. Mareeba Atherton at 3. Kangaroos, Innisfail, Yarrabah and Tully at 2. Suburbs and Mossman Ivanhoe's yet to open the account.
So Suburbs had a great year last year. They've obviously lost 20-odd players.
So what's happened with the Edmonton Storm?
Edmonton Storm got kicked out of the competition.
Oh.
So the crowd played up.
Controversy.
Well, no, the crowd played up and said, and the FNQ Rugby League said, we've had enough, and that was it, gone.
Fair enough. You've got to do that. Okay.
Yeah, well, the juniors are still going, so the juniors will be still playing.
It's a wonder some of those players from Edmonton Storm didn't go to the Suburbs.
Well, I thought they might have.
But it doesn't sound that way.
Well, maybe they did because
I did hear that Kangaroos have got a lot of new players, so maybe they went there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Big game of AFL in Cairns. North play Port Douglas in Port Douglas.
Yeah, that's on Good Friday. It's a 2:00 game. North Cairns Tigers, who are the premiers from 2025, will be playing Port Douglas. It's a standalone game this weekend, so it'll be a standalone bar as well. It's the only bar that's open in Port Douglas this weekend.
It's the only bar open in Cairns.
Well, I think it is. I don't even know how they got. They used the canteen bar for some reason. They must be able to open a canteen bar on Good Friday.
Maybe it's just Coke Zeros, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot more than Coke Zero, that's for sure. But it'll be an interesting game. Port Douglas always very tough to beat up there. So North Cairns Tigers have lost a few quality footballers. So it will be interesting to see where both sides land after round one. Yeah.
All right, time to wrap this puppy up for episode 8. We up to 8 episodes now?
Thanks, Treno.
Thanks, Treno.
Thank you, guys.
Any closing
Always
thoughts, mate? Any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts? Look, Cowboys are going down to Dragons this week.
So you
I
expect
would
them to
love
win?
to see them go down there and actually back it up this week. We've had 2 wins in a row now, and to go down against the bottom team, if you go even though we never really do well down there, you have to now. Kind of thing. You have to, because if everything's lost, if Dragons beat us